Welcome to this week's webisode of Straight Shootin' with Ed Victor, the big gun in voiceovers. Tools, techniques, opinions, and insight on making it in the voiceover business. Now here's the big gun himself, Ed Victor.
Hi, and welcome to this week's webisode of Straight Shootin' with the Big Gun. I'm Ed Victor, the Big Gun, and with me as always is my studio hound, Jesse, the studio hound of love. Okay. Now, in this week's webisode, we're going to be talking about doing work overseas. There's a lot of it out there, but if you don't do it right, you're going to find yourself in a very foreign land. Anyway, there are certain tips that I'd like to share with you about doing voice work overseas, some things you've got to realize, some things you've got to know. Now, the first thing you've got to realize is be cognizant of the different time zones that are out there. I know for a fact that Beijing, China is exactly 14 hours ahead of us here in West Palm Beach. Australia, Sydney, where I do work, is 13 hours ahead. And the reason I tell you this is because when the client sends you an email or contacts you via Skype, they'll say, gosh, I need this voice track and I need it today, which for you really is tomorrow. So you've got to be aware of the time zone difference. Besides that, you don't want them calling your house or your cell phone at 4 a.m. So make sure that they're aware and that you're aware of the time zone difference. It makes things a lot easier. Now, the next biggest problem in doing foreign voice work is pronunciation, right? Pronunciation. We're always afraid of getting that really bizarre word that you've got to try to figure out. So generally when I get a script, the first thing I like to do is ask the client to spell it out for me phonetically. Makes things much easier. Some clients will actually pre-record difficult names and send them to you. They can do that, they'll record it on their phone and send it to me, or they'll send me an MP3. However, to get the pronunciations right is going to save you a ton of time in the long run. If you try to figure it out on your own, 9 times out of 10 you're going to be wrong. Now, recently I had to do a job for CNBC Asia. It was for their yearly award show. And as you would guess, the majority of the names were all Chinese. Okay, so they sent me the script, and of course I tried to muddle through it, and it was a disaster. For instance, a name spelled like this, Hiroshi Nagase, is actually Hiroshi Nagase. Nagase again. Shiv Nadar. No, it's actually pronounced Shiv Nathur. Who knew? Well, they know. So save yourself a lot of time, aggravation, and redo by getting the words phonetically spelled or getting them to actually pronounce it and send you the translations on an MP3. Much, much easier. Now, another concern you might have with translations is timing. I recently did a job for a firm in London for an educational DVD. The educational DVD was actually translated from Russian to English. Now, the video was already pre-cut, so I actually had to match timings. Problem is, Russian takes about twice as long to say than English. So once I recorded everything, the timings were all off. I tried to actually expand everything, made it even worse, and when I tried to slow down the narration, deadly. I was playing the part of a Russian neurophysicist. So the things I was talking about were actually putting me to sleep. Bottom line, I had to go back to the client and have them rewrite everything to expand the copy. Again, a lot of time was wasted. The job actually added an extra day that they were not budgeted for. So that's another thing to keep in mind. So when you do get the script, it's a good idea, and there are specific timings, it's a good idea to read it first and see if there are problems. Go down a few paragraphs and see if the timings are going to match. If they don't, you're going to have a problem. And speaking of timing, it's also a good idea to find out up front if the client in fact wants you to do all the editing. 9 times out of 10 they're going to. I recently did a job for a very, very large company and I recorded everything and sent it off. Well, they said that they needed everything cut up into MP3s. That was pages and pages of MP3s. They needed each MP3 labeled and uploaded. Now, that added an extra 3 to 4 hours to my job to edit everything and make MP3s. And again, save yourself some trouble and aggravation. Get paid for your time in editing as well, and make sure they know that up front. And as far as audio goes, make sure that when you're recording, that you're recording with no compression, no effects, no EQ, no normalization. Your client wants the most clean audio they can possibly get. Also, before you start, ask them up front if they want a WAV file or an MP3. WAV files are going to be several times the size of MP3, so you might want to find out if they have an FTP site that you can upload your tracks to. If they don't have an FTP site, it's real easy to get your own. There's a couple FTP companies out there. One is YouSendIt.